There's so many different reasons why people don't drink. Alcohol in our society is a huge part of everything. That's synonymous with fun, or what we thought it was. It's just other people choosing to abstain from alcohol and to choose a healthier lifestyle. When you actually embrace alcohol-free travel, you see so much more. That's been a huge catalyst to get the mindful drinking movement, moving forward.
Welcome to the Upward Spiral podcast, where we explore the power of positive change and continuous improvement to help you create an upward spiral in all areas of your life. In today's episode, we're diving into a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and that's alcohol-free travel. So if you've ever wondered if it's possible to have an amazing vacation without a drop of alcohol, or if you're curious about how to maybe navigate social situations and stay on track with your wellness goals while traveling, this episode is for you. So I'm your host, Michelle O'Brien, and I'm really excited to guide you on this journey. It was through travel that I truly realized the depth of my own transformation, embracing new adventures and experiences without relying on alcohol opened up a side of me that I didn't know was there. So speaking of incredible adventures, I'm really thrilled to introduce our guest today. So she is a travel advisor, a certified Aruba expert, and someone who is passionate about crafting dream vacations for those seeking alcohol-free experiences. We've had a pre-call. This lady has an infectious energy, an impressive expertise, and a dedication to creating unforgettable travel memories. And she's a perfect person to guide us through the world of sober vacations. So please now welcome the radiant and inspiring Chrissy Gates.
Wow, that was a great introduction. Thanks.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm so excited that you're here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited about it. I'm very passionate about alcohol-free travel as well. It's been a great journey so far.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. And you know what, let's just get straight into it. So I'd love to talk about like the rise of alcohol-free travel, because I'm certainly seeing a lot more of that now. And I feel like you've been at the forefront of the alcohol-free travel movement for a while. Why do you think more and more people are choosing to vacation sober these days?
Yeah, so I think it starts with the mindful drinking movement. And with that comes people that aren't just like sober or in recovery. It's just other people choosing to abstain from alcohol and to choose a healthier lifestyle. And so I think that's been a huge catalyst to get the mindful drinking movement, moving forward. And so alcohol-free travel is absolutely the perfect place, to start. When you go on vacation, I mean, this is coming from a former boozy Caribbean girl that, you go to the Caribbean, you lay on the beach, you drink all sorts of, fancy, funky cocktails. And when you actually embrace alcohol-free travel, you see so much more. You're so much more in the moment, and you are immersed in the destination. It's eye-opening. I can't even, begin to explain that. But I think other people are starting to realize that, and they're realizing that when you go on these vacations that you pay an inordinate amount of money for, you need to actually embrace the trip.
I think the other thing is sometimes I would come back from holidays feeling more exhausted and drained than when I went. Probably because I've just overdone it.
Yeah, sometimes I didn't even when it was over, I was like, did I really have fun on that vacation? I mean, you had fun, but did you really enjoy it? And did you really get to do things besides getting up and starting all over again with the drinking?
Exactly. I know, it makes me kind of sad feeling like all the amazing vacations and places that I've been to that I probably wasted a little bit in hindsight.
I think we both.
You talked a little bit about kind of the mindfulness drinking movement as well, rather than just sobriety and alcohol free. I think maybe there's some misconceptions in there that people might have about alcohol free travel. Maybe a lot of people think that it's just for people who are sober.
Yeah, and it's absolutely not. Like, my clients are sober curious. You could be pregnant. You could, whether or not somebody can't, or somebody's sick or, taking medication. There's so many different reasons why people don't drink. I think the mindful drinking just means that you're, aware of your relationship with alcohol. And that's something, some people have, like I'm sober, so I don't drink, but some of my friends started this. It's a new term, zebra striping. And it means that, somebody goes and they have an alcoholic beverage, and instead of doing the water in between like people used to do, they'll drink, a zero proof beverage. And it's the idea of, having a couple drinks, but not, going overboard. So you have these ideas. Like I have friends now that will call me and say, recommend a de-alcoholized wine, because they want to have wine during the week, but they don't want to feel like garbage at work. So these things are coming into effect, and it's great too, because a lot of the hotels, cruise lines, and destinations are starting to realize that. So they're starting to see that the mindful drinking movement is a reality, and it is something that there's a lot more demand for.
Oh, okay. So I want to get into that a little bit later for sure.
I'm getting excited. I'm sorry.
No, it's great. I think there's that kind of stereotypes as well, of people who are maybe people who are sober, or people that are in recovery, that struggle with alcohol, and therefore going on an alcohol-free holiday must be really boring. I can imagine that those misconceptions, and I think that probably at some point during my life I would have had those as well. It's not like that, right? Like, tell me it's not like that.
It's interesting because that's the first thing you think. And honestly, when I first got into the alcohol-free travel and I, stopped drinking, I was like, how am I going to go on vacation like that? Alcohol in our society is a huge part of everything. That's synonymous with fun, or what we thought it was. And it's the total opposite, because the more present you are, the more in the moment you are. And just even having conversations with people, you remember your conversations, you have, great relationships and great connections. And it's just so much more than, it's so far from boring. There's just, you start to see so many different things that you can do on your travels.
Exactly. And I think there's also this kind of misconception that I've got, that it's kind of like, when you see those like really old-fashioned tour groups, and everyone's very sensible, and it just looks like boring.
I know what you're talking about. Those, yeah, because you see you see even the movies in that too, where everybody's got their map and they're all walking around, and that's boring. To me, travel is whatever you want to make it. So that's one thing that's part of my service, is I qualify all my clients. So I know exactly what they're looking for, and alcohol or no alcohol, it's what they want to experience. And it's so much better without the alcohol. So
I think it's just got these like misconceptions that it's like, you're going to be on this tour bus and you're going to be touring around with all of these like, fuddy-duddy. I know it's terrible. Like I still have these like, awful misconceptions.
Yeah, people think that it's going to be really boring, that once you take alcohol out, and it's not. It really, there's so much more. And now with the mindful drinking movement, people, it's, you're not standing out of a crowd. It's something that's becoming part of the norm, which is cool.
So let's talk about crafting the perfect sober travel itinerary.
Yeah.
Like, where do we start?
Yeah. So what really made me, when I was looking at that question and I was thinking about it, Laura Silverman's from Zero Proof Nation. She and I have collaborated on a booze-free in Bermuda cruise. It's July 13th through the 20th this year, 2025. And that's creating a group, we're gathering people together, and it's a cruise for like-minded people. Now, one of the first things that people ask me, they're like, oh, so you took all the alcohol off the boat? I'd have to win the lottery to do that. That doesn't happen. And this type of cruise is for somebody that, if you're somebody that's uncomfortable and still nervous about sober travel, that, that's something you'd have to think about. But it's just traveling with like-minded people, and the cruise is going to have an introductory mocktail party. It's going to have a ship tour with a scavenger hunt and a shopping pub crawl, because everything at sea is duty free. And so you create all these activities, and you create this sense of, togetherness. And that really helps people travel, especially people that are nervous the first time around, that say, you have, they always say, what, safety in numbers. So you have other people to rely on, and other people that are in, that are live an alcohol-free lifestyle. So that's definitely one. Our cruise is going to be good. And we have a Kristen White, who was on Hoda and Jenna, and she is the guru, Bermudian guru, and she is going to take us on a tour of St. George's, and they're going to do a signature mocktail for us. So it's all these experiences, adding something that gives it that touch that makes somebody feel special, because the whole idea of alcohol-free travel is the inclusivity. So, we're, just because we abstain from alcohol doesn't mean that we don't have like signature, experiences, and that's what it's all about. And I think one of my,
Oh,
so you had mentioned earlier that I'm a Aruba certified expert. And so I've been traveling to Aruba for over 30 years, and I've booked many, many trips there. And over this last summer, I went to the Bakuti and Terra Suites, which is one of the top honeymoon romantic resorts in Aruba. And what they have is when you get there, they have the like little iPads that have all their, cocktails and mocktails are first on the menu there. He's very big in like, the owner is into like the peaceful, tranquil. It's not a party scene. If you're a party person, they don't want you there. They don't accept groups there. So it's, when you get there, it's all about service and just your experience, the ambiance. But I loved the idea when I used to go there years ago to get the champagne welcome. But so when I
yeah.
came, they've now incorporated, it's a German sparkling non-alcoholic wine. So you still get that experience. And that's something that people look for. You still want to be treated like, you're a revered guest. And so to me, that was a really nice touch. Like just that.
I think it's just feeling special, right?
Yeah.
Like you're on holiday, and especially somewhere in a destination like that where it's just incredible. It's probably for most people a once in a lifetime holiday. You do want those moments and those special touches.
Yes.
You want to feel included.
Yeah, and it was, things like yoga on the beach, and you had you have all those little touches too, because that's part of the whole mindful drinking movement too, is the idea of the health and feeling.
Yeah, for sure. So you spoke a little bit about the tours, the group trip on the cruise, which sounds amazing. And if I wasn't on the other side of the world, I would 100% be there with you guys. Next time.
Yes, I know.
Give me some.
Maybe we'll come to Singapore.
Definitely. Come and do an Asia one. That would be amazing. I keep saying to Laura she needs to get over here as well. But what about kind of as individuals? So do you help individuals craft alcohol-free holidays as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I just did booked a family on a Viking cruise. And so
oh my God, amazing.
It's absolutely amazing. I mean, talking Monte Carlo, Portugal. And the cool thing about that is Portugal now has two NA bottle shops. So Europe really, Europe really has been huge. The UK is really big too with the mindful drinking movement. But so in this cruise, they definitely have, like, the luxury cruise lines really get it. Luxury properties do. So Viking has, mocktails and zero proof spirits. So those are on board. The excursions are included on the ship. So they can make their choice of where they want to go. Yeah, you're paying a little more, but you're paying for luxury, and you're paying to have, all these things included. So this was really exciting because it's going to be fantastic. They're doing we booked a pre-cruise, like 2 days in a hotel, and then the post part of the trip, which is in Barcelona. The beginning starts in Rome. So there's so many. So we mapped it all out, and I give all my clients it's a platform that I have. It's a digital platform, and it lists out every day. It lists out all the places to go, all the connections, like where you would find non-alcoholic spirits there, excursions to do that, give you an immersion into culture if people are looking for any kind of adventure. And then it acts as an app on your phone. And so that has it right there. I think it's the idea of not having to wander around and not knowing where you are or what you're going to get.
Yeah, I think being like, if you're time poor and not being able to kind of plan these trips yourself, like it's super helpful, but also it's just not always easy to know which restaurants are going to be serving non-alc, really understanding where I can get non-alcoholic alternatives, where you're maybe going to be away from a rowdy crowd. Because I know personally, that's kind of what I want to avoid as well. I don't want to be in a party environment or a party hotel. I'd much rather kind of be in a quieter, more family space. Different time of my life, obviously. But it's the thought of having everything planned for you is amazing.
Yeah, and especially with this type of trip, with an alcohol-free trip, we're still in the infancy with it too. It's definitely becoming a huge thing. It's definitely, we're seeing, I'm an optimist, so I see a lot of improvement. Like when I deal with the hotels and cruise lines, and that's what I do. I research to see what the best properties are. I'll tell you that, this certain hotel has a splash party, which is a disco with nothing but boozing and partying. So that's definitely not going to be something for my clients. I'm going to look for something else. Like I said, the Bacuti and Terra Suites, that's going to be something that would be more geared towards them. And again, it doesn't just have to be peaceful and tranquil. You can do an adventure trip or go to Costa Rica and immerse in, wellness activities.
Yeah, I was just about to say that as well, because I think one of the other misconceptions that a lot of people have around alcohol-free travel is that it's going to be this like wellness experience, and it's going to be yoga and meditation and fitness and health, and that's not always what people want either.
No.
Some people want culture, adventure, to meet other people, to have something that feels quite social as well. So it's being able to kind of find those places as well.
Yeah, there are so many. It just depends on what you want to do and where you want to go. Some people want peaceful, tranquil. Some people do like the yoga. Other people like to just have that packed itinerary where they're visiting museums and they're going to, or they're doing some off-roading. And like Aruba's a desert island, so there's a lot of cool caves to explore. And people like things like that. Just like I said, I qualify my clients ahead of time just to see what they like and what they don't like. And that kind of helps to, me to direct them to the right place.
Yeah. So what if someone's on a very tight budget? Maybe what if someone couldn't afford the services of yourself and are looking to kind of plan a sober trip themselves? What would your advice be? What should people be looking for when it comes to, maybe let's start with a destination?
I would still say follow me or look on my website to see what I have. And I don't charge a fee. A lot of travel advisors, they do charge fees, unless it's a really big trip. I will, something that's really cumbersome. But otherwise, I just make my commissions off my suppliers. So getting advice and finding out from me, and I can always find, like I know the luxury travel is always easier in the sense of those properties already have their mixologists on board and they have all those zero proof beverages in place. But there are a lot of other ones, boutique hotels, which are smaller and less expensive. You just basically need to do your research if you want to do something on your own for that. But otherwise, there's Laura has from Zero Proof Nation has a map with a variety of different, where you can find a lot of different beverages in any bottle shop. So again, it's still new. Like I'm still digging. Sometimes I come across people are like, yeah, we got this. We've got, great zero proof beverages. And somebody else will tell me, oh, we have a Shirley Temple, which I haven't had since I was like 10. So I said, yeah, that's not really what we're talking about. But
okay, so I love this. So first of all, this is amazing that you don't charge a fee, and we'll link to all of your websites and everything below, because I didn't know that's actually amazing. I think, yeah, there's other countries as well. When you look at, maybe the Middle East, or you look at some parts of Africa or Asia, where huge parts of the population don't actually drink. Now, they might not have, non-alcoholic alternatives in the Western sense, but they do have a lot of drinks that don't contain a lot of soft drinks, teas, and things that don't contain alcohol either. There's also, a number of dry hotels in these countries.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's also kind of being able to look at those.
Yeah, I've spoken with a lot of mixologists that are in that area. Middle East, they actually Crossip, which is out of I think Scotland, and it's in the UK as well. Um, they're in Mauritius, which is fantastic. They're at the Marriott, again, luxury properties, but they're at three of the different luxury properties. So that was kind of interesting to see as well, too. If you don't have the zero proof spirits, and I know with distribution, that's part of the problem is getting them to places. It's getting food to some of these places that's always been difficult. But if you have a mixologist or a bartender that really knows what he's doing, they really can craft some amazing beverages out of teas and just whatever local fruits that they source there as well. So that's been really interesting.
Yeah, there's a real kind of movement here in Asia with teas, and doing a lot of different things with the teas, and they're beautiful, really sophisticated,
Mm-hmm.
alcohol-free drinks, and it's yeah, a little bit different again from what we'd have in the West, but very sophisticated still.
I love the tea-based drinks. I think they give it so much flavor. They're definitely something that's good. I think it's on my site. I've got I always feature three properties, and it's Secrets Secret Bay in Dominica, which they brew their own tea on site. And it's really cool. That's a really interesting. I do a lot of Caribbean because I'm in New York, so getting to the Caribbean from the East Coast, there's a lot of direct flights out of JFK, Newark, and Philly. So there's a lot of great properties.
Yeah, nice. My mum and dad are in Barbados
Oh.
now as we speak.
Oh, nice! I love Barbados.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It's lovely. They had their honeymoon there almost 40 years ago. I think it'll be 40 years this year, and
Wonderful.
they they go back quite frequently. My dad was in the aviation industry, and so they kind of got a lot of staff travel. So they'd go over there, and it's an incredibly special place for them and for our family. But the Caribbean is just
That's
beautiful.
gorgeous.
There's nowhere like it.
I was at a travel conference in August, and we went to dinner. I was calling them the boys from Barbados, these two wonderful gentlemen that are part of the tourism industry that took us all out to dinner to talk to us about, what's going on in Barbados and the different amenities and different places for our clients to visit. And so they had a special mocktail made for me as well, too. And so they're interested as well too, which I think it's funny. I go to the conferences and they're like, oh, alcohol-free travel. So some places are really interested in involving themselves in it, and others don't know that much about it. So it's been fun. It really has.
I need to get myself over there again. Difficult from this side of the world. Be like a 30-hour journey or something.
Oh my God.
I would love to talk to you a little bit about some of the examples of some of the most exciting itineraries that you've created, alcohol-free itineraries you've created.
Last year there was Club Med in Turks and Caicos, that's one that is a little bit more affordable. It's an all-inclusive, but the cool thing about this all-inclusive is there's twice daily snorkeling excursions. So you can go twice a day if you wanted and snorkel. There are all-day fitness programs as well, too. So whether or not you want to play tennis, you want to do a boot camp, you want to do yoga, it's just whatever level that you want to go to. And I thought that was really, really interesting because what they do is, and I told my friends that are fitness instructors, if you are a fitness instructor, they'll give you a discount if you want to come in and just promise to teach however many classes when you go in. So that was kind of an interesting adventure. And it was also the manager, there was no non-alcoholic wine, and so they went out and got non-alcoholic wine, which means that they're in Turks and Caicos in their liquor store. There's non-alcoholic wine. So those were some of the exciting things as well. I think the big one too is Seaborn, because Seaborn has a zero at sea alcohol free program, and it's top of the line because they went. I actually just interviewed. I'm writing an article, so I interviewed the senior beverage manager from Seaborn and another one of his staff that had helped him implement this program, and also Paul Matthew from Everleaf. And so, and it was interesting to get both perspectives because they chose these zero proof beverages by going in and sampling and tasting and creating other beverages. So it was really a careful selection. But Seaborn has some really interesting itineraries to go on as well too. I haven't actually booked the Seaborn one yet, but that's their. I've been sourcing out their itinerary, and I think that's something that I definitely am recommending for my clients. There are still a few I haven't. I've had, and I still have some of my clients that still drink. So it's funny because the last gentleman that I just booked actually said, "I'm having a mocktail." So when I sent him on vacation, so some people are trying them just for the sense of that as well. So I'm really more so right now as far as the alcohol free part of it, researching the properties and setting them up for my clients as we go along. Actually, I do have one coming up, and it's Hammock Cove in Antigua. And this is one where you go in and they give you a cell phone. And so my one client likes to be pampered. And it's this gentleman and his family, and he really likes to be taken care of, but he gets a cell phone and his own personal ambassador. So they'll have that. And another luxury property, so they have a gorgeous mocktail selection with zero proof beverages. And I'll be in Curacao in April of this year, and so I'm working with the marketing department, and we're going to shoot some footage of their non-alcoholic menu. So that's something. Yeah, so that'll be fun. So as we come along, we're the booze free in Bermuda cruise, and I've done a few cruises for for some of my non-alcoholic clients, but I have people reaching out, so I'm hoping that we can interest some of them in some cruises or some.
And what about the more like adventure type itineraries? Getting people kind of out doing, I don't know, like, yeah, tell me a little bit about some of the maybe more kind of adventurous itineraries, what that could
Oh
look
yeah,
like.
so there's again with Costa Rica, you do have like your Hacienda del Sols, which is no alcohol, and that's more of like a cleanse or a journey. And then there's so many different parts of that country that you can go on. There's kayaking adventures, and I think I told you about that I had clients a little while back that were both drinkers, but they wanted to go on this adventure, in Costa Rica, and they didn't want to ruin it by having a hangover. So they're like, recommend a property that has some great non-alcoholic beer and some other spirits or things like that, because they didn't want to ruin a once in a lifetime trip by,
Yeah.
indulging in too much alcohol.
Yeah, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I just got back yesterday, as you know, from Tokyo, and it was my first time being up there since being sober.
Mm-hmm.
And we took the kids. First time we took the kids
Oh, nice.
to Japan, and they loved it. We did 6 days. And it was amazing, obviously it's always a little bit different when you've got the kids, but in times gone by, I probably kind of would have, bar hopped a little bit in Tokyo.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely did that a lot with my husband, but not so much this time. I'll be honest, didn't have any non-alcoholic alternatives. It was very cold, so I was drinking lots of tea.
Oh, okay, yeah. Was it
But
Disney that you were at?
yeah, so we stayed in Tokyo, but we did do 2 days at Disney. So they've got Disneyland and Disney Sea. The Disney Sea theme park is unreal. They're both amazing, but Disney Sea is something else. It's really incredible.
Oh,
We only had the intention to go to Disneyland, and we had such a nice day with the kids that we were like, should we go again tomorrow?
oh, that's awesome.
Should we go and do the other parks tomorrow? So they loved it. But even just kind of like walking the streets with the kids, uncovering, new spots. We took the kids to ninja classes.
Oh.
And so they got to train to be ninjas, which was
that's
really
fun.
Really fun. We went up the Sky Tree, and we actually spent a lot of time in the parks. So obviously we live in Singapore. It's 30 to 35 degrees every day, all year round. And the humidity is very high. So it's whilst we do spend a lot of time outside, it is quite uncomfortable and quite sticky. So just being able to be outside, and it was 10 degrees Celsius, we were all in jumpers, but the kids were just in this park, they're like, it's cool, this is amazing. And they've never really played with leaves before. And so in autumn when the leaves fall and they're all crunchy, and it was kind of like that. There was like lots of fallen leaves on the floor. It was dry. And the kids were just like, what is this? So they'd be like throwing the leaves in the air and playing with them. And, it's so funny because it was like, well, for me and my husband, it didn't register for us that would be a thing that they would enjoy probably the most in the whole trip.
Oh, yeah. Something they haven't seen. Like, they've probably never seen snow, right?
They've never seen snow. No, we were hoping we might have got a little bit of snow, but it never happened. But yeah, they've never seen snow, and they hadn't really even played with or seen crunchy leaves.
I know, something you take for granted, but that's awesome. That's another thing too. Family vacations that's so much, because there's a lot of people that go on family vacations that drink throughout their family vacation. So the idea of having that time and going to an amusement park and going to, just enjoying that. Because the Disney Cruise Line here has a great mocktail selection as well. So that's fun.
Oh, the Disney Cruise is coming to Singapore this year. So we're excited about that. But yeah, I think honestly, I couldn't have done that holiday, and then I wouldn't have enjoyed that holiday if I'd have even had one drink a day, because even just one drink would have thrown me off enough to make me maybe not have as much patience with the kids. I would have felt a bit tired. Maybe my sleep wouldn't have been as good, and I just wouldn't. It was an amazing 6 days, but it was a lot. My kids are 3 and 5.
Oh, so, busy.
Yeah, if I'd have been drinking, that'd have been a lot harder, or I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much.
Yeah, and you get to experience your kids, and that's the nice part about it.
So let's maybe talk a little bit about the social situations and staying on track, because sometimes it's hard to voice your choice to not drink on vacation, especially when you maybe are in a nice restaurant, or you make holiday friends, don't you? You're around the pool and there's a group of you and you're meeting new people. It's really hard to kind of then be like, oh no, I don't drink. What's your advice for anyone who wants to stay on track, and maybe how to communicate that?
That's goes along the lines, with finding restaurants and finding, the properties that have the zero proof beverage. A lot of times you don't even, if they have them there, you don't even have to say that you're not, whatever's in your glass, nobody knows what it is. But if somebody does question you, and I know I've seen this where, why aren't you drinking? You get those questions. And some people, honestly, I found a lot of people just are really like, oh, wow, that's cool. That's, that's interesting. I didn't know they made a non-alcoholic whiskey, or things like that. But I mean, if somebody, I just always say, I tend to be a little more combative sometimes, but if somebody's really pressuring and saying, why aren't you drinking? I always stop and look at them and say, well, why are you drinking? And that usually is like, oh, okay, yeah, but I think, to me, everybody's journey is completely different. And so I would never say that, what situations are right. But if it's something, if people are really struggling with that, and, because, sometimes that, in the beginning when you stop drinking, sometimes there's that, people are like, oh, just have a glass of wine or just have this. And it's just, you have to be in that comfortable in that your mindset that your relationship with alcohol, what it looks like, if you're like, for me, I know my husband still drinks, but I know that I don't want to drink, so it's not a big deal. But I know what you're saying. If
Yeah.
other people are around, you just have to be comfortable in it and say, I'm having a mocktail.
Yeah, it takes time as well. It took me a whole year of not drinking to say the words, I don't drink anymore. And I think there was like, I needed to be sure of myself. Like I needed to let it sit with me first before I started voicing it. And everyone's kind of quite different in that journey. But, I don't think it's necessarily just when you're on holiday. I think it's something that, you have to kind of deal with at multiple times unless you're just not going anywhere.
It's so interesting, though, that you have to, it's a drug that people are like, why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you doing it? But like, no one would ever ask you, oh, are you shooting up heroin tonight? Like, that's completely unacceptable. But it's, when you look at that, it's okay. So I took it out of my life. And now I think with the mindful drinking movement, um, people are like, oh, you don't drink, or, oh, that's cool. Like, I'm getting more of that. Like, oh, what do like my friend just had sent me a Facebook message that said, can you recommend any mocktail recipes? So I don't know what's going on there, but obviously she's looking at, embracing some drinks. So I sent her a few of those over. I think it's just, if you're still feeling nervous about that too, I think that's, like you said, it took a year. Sometimes you just don't want to go out and deal with that.
I think a couple of kind of practical tips would definitely be obviously planning the trip ahead, planning that alcohol-free trip, with the help of Chrissy, and but also, like, if you're going to a certain restaurant, have a look at the menu before you go, decide on what you want to drink before you go, so you don't feel on the spot. Same for kind of when you're sitting around the pool, take a look at the pool bar menu, just know in your head that there's a couple of non-alcoholic drinks that you want to try, so you don't feel, too put on the spot. Have your answers prepared if somebody does ask you. And you can tell the truth. You don't have to tell the truth. You can just say, I just don't want to drink this drink, or and just try to pause and take a minute and listen to yourself, not get swept away with what everybody else is doing, and just kind of remind yourself of the reasons why you may be choosing to not drink. I think it's probably just a little bit of advice from me, but I know it's hard sometimes.
Yeah, it's great advice, because it's definitely, like you said, everybody's journey is different, and so you just have to kind of think of, when you're in that situation. I always, even just in my own travels, I source out all sorts of, the bars and restaurants and places that we visit, that, make sure that there is something there that, that I have. Because when I go out too, or when anyone goes out, you'd like to have something that's the inclusivity of it all, and that's what I
Yeah.
think a lot of bars and restaurants and even hotels don't realize the money they're leaving on the table. Because I've paid up to $15 for a mocktail on vacation, and
Oh,
I had no problem. I didn't even blink, because it's like, I was just so happy to have that opportunity, to have that option there.
exactly. And I think just to qualify, like, we're not talking about a mixed juice,
Yeah.
we're talking about something sophisticated.
Yes, because
Not.
yeah, they'll ask you,
Yeah.
or that's a couple hotels that I had talked to were like, "Oh, we can take the alcohol out of any drink." I'm like, "No, that's disgusting. It's just, syrupy.
Yeah.
It's not something that's carefully crafted, and that's something that, my clients and myself look for when you know, when
Yeah.
you go on vacation, you want something that's actually delicious."
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and just not loaded with sugar. You don't want to be having that sugar hangover, which
Oh,
sometimes is worse than the alcohol.
it definitely is. I know. There's a lot of cool Caribbean islands too that have chocolate factories. Like San Lucia has one
Yeah,
too. And so, like, for me, I love chocolate. So, those are fun
same.
experiences too. Food becomes a big part of it. That's why you have to, when you go, and especially if you're not drinking, it's like, oh, what am I going to eat? So you got to be careful. I like to work out as well too when I go on vacation, but I have to make sure I do that if I'm going to be feasting on chocolate, whatever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm exactly the same. Definitely a dessert person. We are heading to Australia in 2 weeks. So we're having a bit of a silly few months and doing all of our annual travel in the first quarter, which is a bit nuts. But we're going to a place called Margaret River. And Margaret River is about three hours south of Perth in Australia. And it's brilliant. From Singapore, we can fly there in 4.5 hours and it's the same time zone. So it's great. But it's a wine region, famous for all these incredible vineyards, incredible breweries, and all have really amazing food, amazing restaurants, and it's super kid friendly. So like all the breweries have the most amazing playgrounds that you've ever seen. Oh, wow. So you have to drive to them all because they're all kind of across this beautiful countryside, and you kind of go, you have amazing food, the kids can just play out, it's everything's contained, and it's really, really, really lovely. And this year it'll be the first time that we're going that my husband's not drinking.
Oh, wow.
So he's trying to do 1 year, no alcohol. He turns 40 this year, so he's trying to get fit and healthy. And it's going to be really interesting because we went last year and a lot of I think there was only one brewery, and every day for a week we ate out kind of maybe twice a day, and there was only one brewery that was brewing its own non-alcoholic alternative. All of them, and this is coming from Australia, that are generally very kind of healthy.
Yeah.
And they still had non-alcoholic alternatives on the menus, but they weren't necessarily from their own vineyard or from their own brewery. And so I kind of did a bunch of videos while I was there, and it's just interesting to see if anything's changed over the last year.
Especially with the mindful drinking movement, and Lyre's is from Australia too, which is huge.
Yeah. There's so many. I've interviewed quite a few kind of Australian brands, alcohol-free brands, and there's just some phenomenal ones down there.
Great.
And also it's one of these things that I find really odd because everyone has to drive to these vineyards and breweries. So I'm like, surely you would have a bigger non-alcoholic alternative for the person who's designated driver.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I'm really excited because airlines and airport lounges are really stepping up with their non-alcoholic options, because we've all seen the TikToks. I mean, I would be furious if I jumped on a plane and I was, headed on my vacation and I had to get canceled because somebody, indulged too much. Have a 2-drink minimum for people and have some non-alcoholic offerings. And they're starting to do that, and that's great.
For sure. I think we've all been on a flight where someone's taken it a little bit too far.
Yeah.
For sure. It's never, ever nice, never fun.
No.
It's just, it's going to be an exciting holiday because, like you said, the food is really important. We're going out for these phenomenal meals, and it's always nice to have a sophisticated alternative to drink.
Absolutely. Yeah, you absolutely do. And I would be, interested to hear too, if they have upped their non-alcoholic, offerings as well. And I think a brewery too, they should have their own brewed. Every brewery should have their own, home brewed non-alcoholic.
Yeah, we went to loads, and there was only CB Co, which are a great non-alcoholic beer. They've got great non-alcoholic beer and great alcoholic beer as well. It was only them that was brewing their own. So I'll see. I'll text you and let you know.
I know. Let me know. I'd be definitely interested to hear about that.
But the region itself is beautiful. Incredible place for families. Incredible place for anyone, because you've got really amazing beaches. There's caves. There's loads of things to do. But it's also by 5 p.m, everyone goes home, has a barbecue, and calls it a night. So it's a real kind of do lots of things in the day and then chill out in the evening. So
that's me, because we said, tonight my time 7:00. I'm usually heading to bed, so I'm more of I was always a day drinker too. When we went, if we were not every day, don't get me wrong, but at the when we were at the lake or wherever we went, I was always all right. Do things during the day and then relax at night. I'm still like that. I just don't have any alcohol.
Yeah, I know. I think I've just come to terms with the fact that I'm a morning person. I hate going out in the evening.
Oh.
Yeah, meet me for lunch. I'm happy as anything.
Yeah.
Just found a few things. So, what are your favorite destinations for people, for sober travelers at the moment?
I would definitely say the Caribbean is a good one. Caribbean, Aruba, Curacao. Again, it's not just all the luxury properties. We have some of the chain properties as well. I like La Romana. A lot of people like Punta Cana, which is a lot of party hotels, but La Romana is actually on the Caribbean side and it has no seaweed. So that's a top one too. And they have the Hilton Adults only all inclusive, and they also have the Hilton Family one that's right. It's a huge, huge property, and it's beautiful, and it's definitely again they've upped their zero proof and non-alcoholic beverage options. Plus, there's so much to do. There's snorkeling right. There's a scuba carib right on property, so you can jump on a boat and go out. And I always think a lot of properties that have a lot of activities on them too. So when you go to Aruba and you go to like the Bakuti is one that's a little more relaxed. But if you stay at the Ritz Carlton's on there as well too, and they have paddle boarding, kayaking, things like that. Just things to keep you active. I think that's part of the thing too. I think drinking is a lot of times out of boredom. So, with some people. So I think that that's something, just keep yourself active. Europe has gotten it for years. Europe always has. So there's a lot of beautiful places. Portugal's a big one that I think Portugal's really up and coming as far as embracing the non-alcoholic beverages. Like I said, they have two spots. One of the two cities where they have their non-alcoholic bottle shops. Porto is one that not a lot of people. It's up and coming because not a lot of people. They usually do Lisbon and they do the other popular ones, but this one is definitely one that's I would recommend for alcohol-free travel. Any of them, like Mauritius, Maldives, those are great ones. They're beautiful, but I always do do this, not that. Not that wouldn't recommend the Maldives, but Mauritius is definitely got a little more going on, and it's also not as popular as the Maldives because everybody's going to the Maldives. A big one now too is it's got a great mocktail menu. It's oh jeez, it's gonna slip my mind. It just came on Virtuoso, but it is the over Bocas del Toros, and it's they have over the water bungalows like Maldives, but at far less. It's far. The cost is far less, and you can get direct flights from the East Coast as well too. And their mocktail menu was beautiful, so it was neat. There's so many cool places. I'm discovering so many more now too. Granada, which is great because it's a spice island, so everything is flavored with all sorts of cool spices.
Yeah, and then we need to get you over to Asia.
Yes,
come and do a tour over
here. I know that is definitely on my list. Singapore too. Ever since I saw Crazy Rich Asians, I want to stand on that rooftop there.
Marina Bay Sands.
Yes.
Yeah. On the boat overlooking. Yeah, it is spectacular. I feel so lucky and grateful to live in Singapore. I always call it Asia for beginners.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you were saying that.
Yeah, English is the first language. So, and it's a real melting pot. There's 5 million people on this tiny island, but we all live in harmony. And so you really kind of can get a taste of the region, whilst kind of having that comfort, I suppose is kind of the best way to put it. But everything's very new and modern and clean, and it's very famous for being clean. It's immaculate.
Yeah, I'm excited. I would definitely like to see that.
Yeah, and it's great. So we can be in Bali in 2 hours. We can be in Thailand in an hour, 2 hours. Malaysia an hour. Philippines 4 hours. Vietnam 2 hours. So it's a great hub for being able to have your comfort and then kind of go off and do these incredible trips around Southeast Asia. But yeah, it's really, really amazing. And like I said, we've got a lot of countries here where more than 50% of the countries down here don't drink for religious or for health reasons or for whatever. And so whilst we're a little bit behind on the non-alcoholic alternatives, there is still non-alcoholic drinks available wherever you go. So it's quite easy to avoid it. If you want to look for a party, you'll find a party, but it's also quite easy to avoid it as
I think
well.
you could find a party anywhere. It's just a matter of finding the non-parties that's, now we're trying to get into.
I also think more Gen Z, things are going to change with travel as well. We're seeing Gen Z drinking a lot less, if at all. They're looking for richer, more authentic experiences. They were looking for more kind of health and wellness and adventure. And so, I think the travel industry as a whole is going to evolve over the next kind of 5 to 10 years to accommodate them as well.
And baby moons are a big one too. There's all kinds of moons coming out now too. There's buddy moon, like going with your friend. But the baby moon's cool because it's usually with the first baby. So you're going and having your last romantic, you know what I mean? Not your last romantic. I'm not trying to say that, but before children, life changes. So it's having that experience. And then when you're pregnant, you're looking for quality non-alcoholic beverages. So that's something that's really interesting.
We did too. We with my son, I didn't do any with my daughter because it was COVID.
Yeah.
But with my son, we did. We stayed at an Anantara in Hoi An in Vietnam.
Cool.
A beautiful, but it was around Tet, like Chinese New Year, and it was just so busy that we didn't relax as much as we wanted. So then we went to Thailand.
Then really
just for weekends.
Yeah.
But that's again the beauty of being here is that we go away for weekends, long weekends, because flights are so cheap in the region. So we hop up to Thailand for a weekend, and it's very, very, very nice. Very lucky. So just last couple of things. So you've mentioned your website that has got some great resources on.
Yes.
Are there any other kind of resources or places that we can get inspiration for our sober travel?
Yeah, I think like a lot of the non-alcoholic publications like No Low Drinker Magazine, Sober Curator, After Magazine, they have they highlight different people that either travel. A lot of groups travel. I've noticed that it's really starting to pop out all over the place. Even like Forbes magazine talked about non-alcoholic beverages, and they've talked about different places. I was quoted in Virtuoso magazine, which is one of the top consortiums in travel, and I belong to it as well. To my host agency, 1,000 Mile Travel is part of the Virtuoso consortium, and it was called the Mighty Mocktail, and it featured a variety of different zero proof spirits, and they had asked me where can you find some of these. And so of course one of my favorites is I love Myth, and it's featured at Grantley Hall, which is on my list this year. I'm going to do the UK and do a sober tour, and Grantley Hall reminds me of Bridgerton, so I have to go there. So if you watch the Bridgerton series, it's majestic. It's absolutely gorgeous. Yep. So I think if you look around publications, consult me as well too. Not a shameless plug, but I've done the research. I've been writing my blog. I've been posting a variety of different articles about places to go, and also tips on sober travel and things like that. So I think again everything's research because it is in its infancy. It's still newer, so I definitely would anybody else that that as far as travel, even the Travel and Leisure magazines and Condé Nast Traveler, they're all starting to have a sprinkle of alcohol-free travel, I guess.
I'm definitely seeing that as well. So look, I'm going to link to you all of your platforms below, and I'm also going to ask you to share links to your top 10 hotels as well, alcohol-free hotels or trips or itineraries or however you want to do it. I think would be really good to kind of so people can start to really have a look at what it could look like.
Absolutely.
As well. And then just kind of last question. So like what's your ultimate vision for an alcohol-free travel in the future?
So it's interesting. I have this conversation a while back. I think I like the idea of alcohol-free travel not to really have to be called alcohol-free travel. So it would be, a curated trip, such as, again, you said wellness trip or an adventure trip, and just having most hotels just have that. those options for, again, zero proof spirits. And it's not just about the beverages. I know we always talk about that, which is a great inclusion, and I love that, by all means. But just having an atmosphere where, again, like, it's not a party scene, and it's not, and just, I guess it's like I'm saying, world peace. I don't want just non drunk fests. I don't know. And I know that even though I'm not tempted to drink, I just, being in a room full of drunks is just not fun. No longer. And it's, people, to each his own. I just go and do my own thing. But for alcohol free travel, I'd just like to see it be seamless. I'd like to see that you'd be able to get a glass of non-alcoholic wine on a plane flight if you wanted it, or you get on the plane and you don't have anybody that's overindulged. And I just think I'd like it to be less research to have to find those things, that it would be something that's more commonplace than not, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. And I think it's not just in travel. That for me is in life, is that it's seamless, that you're included, that it's not, and in a weird way, it's kind of like being vegetarian 30 years ago. It's like now it's not a thing, right? Like there's always going to be vegetarian, even vegan options on a menu. And so, it's just for it to not be this thing, it's, like you said, seamless.
That's an interesting point too, because then again, it's like people that still might drink that would have a zero proof beverage or a mocktail. I'm not vegan, but I'll cook a lot of vegan recipes or vegan desserts because I follow these influencers, and they're fantastic. So it's not, it's great that there's the option for the people that actually have that, but it's nice to have that because it also offers options for other people. Again, I'd like it to be inclusive of just the menu. Like, it's something that you didn't think that much about, like a vegan option. Of course, you don't even think about that anymore, because of course there's a vegan option on there. There has to be, I mean, that's part of society. I would like to see this be part of society.
Chrissy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Honestly,
I stayed awake too.
You did. You made it. You can go to bed now if you're not too high on the adrenaline.
I know. I probably will be a little.
Honestly, your insights have been incredible, and I can see your passion for alcohol-free travel, and I know that all of our listeners are going to be really inspired to maybe create their own unforgettable sober adventures as well. So thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. I thank you for having me, and I love your passion for travel too. So that's fun.
Yeah. You know what? It's like I've always had that passion for travel, and it's my dad, because of the staff travel that we got. My dad used to work for British Airways as an aviation engineer, and he was with them a long, long time. And so we got staff travel, and my parents, we went all over with it. And it was amazing. We didn't have loads of money. So like my mum would pack sandwiches, she would pack a loaf of bread and ham and stuff in the suitcase. And so we'd get on this, free flight to Barbados, and we'd be staying in this like little hotel and eating cheese sandwiches in the hotel room. But it really, it was just amazing. I'm so lucky that we got to travel so much
Absolutely.
As children, that it just instills that, and travel is the most important thing to me, and it's the one thing that I spend my money on, and I will sacrifice everything else for my trips. And we're really coming out of COVID. We're trying to kind of make sure we do as much as we can with the kids as well, because it's experiences. It's kind of all that this matters in the end, right?
It does. And I always tell my clients too, I said, because I love to go out for like a really nice dinner, 5-star dinner. But I also love the experience of going to the fishing village and watching them pull the seafood out of the water, season it, and prepare it in Caribbean style or however they're going to do it, and just sit on the beach and eat it off of the paper bag. Like, it's just experiences.
Totally. And it's like, we call them fish cutters in Barbados, and go and get like a fish cutter on the beach, just like basically a fresh fish sandwich, like on the beach. And that's as nice as, if not nicer sometimes, than going out for fancy
It
meals.
really is. I know it. It's just what you like, and it's good to experience that. Definitely.
Yeah, I love it. So thank you everyone who's listening. We could talk holidays all day. For those of you that are wanting to learn more about Chrissy and all of her amazing work, I will link to everything below. Please check out the show notes. And if you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe to the Upward Spiral podcast. It really, really helps. I'm really trying to kind of grow a community here, and hoping that I can attract some amazing guests like Chrissy here onto the show. So please add some comments and share with your friends, and together let's keep spiraling upwards. Also, I want to hear about your sober travel as well. So if anyone wants to tell us about sober trips, add it in the comments below. Let's share where you're all going. Thank you very much. Bye.